So in this video, we'll be talking about nutrition of bacteria. So basically the word nutrition means food, necessarily means it refers to food, right? Nutrition or energy, food energy that is being stored inside your body. So those are nutritions, right? Basically here we are going to discuss how bacteria make their own food, or how do bacteria make some means to get food. So bacteria are divided into two categories on how they generate food or how they get food, right? So we have autotrophic bacteria. So autotrophic bacteria, these are bacteria that can make their own food. They don't necessarily have to go anywhere, so they can generate their own food, right? So now, how do they do that? So the first one is photosynthetic. So what does photosynthetic mean? It means they use solar or sunlight energy to make their own food, to make their food, right? So they use sunlight to make their own food, hence photosynthetic. And then another one, it's chemosynthetic. Chemosynthetic, it means they use chemical energy to make their own food. Basically meaning chemical energy, we're talking about chemical processes, right? Chemical processes to generate their own food. So those are autotrophic, so they can easily generate or make their own food. So now we also have heterotrophics. Heterotrophic bacteria. Heterotrophic bacteria. So these ones are divided into three categories, right? They're divided into three categories. We have parasitic, meaning parasitic actually means they get their food by harming other organisms, right? Those are parasites. So now we also have saprotrophic or saprophytic. What does this mean? Saprophytic actually means that this one's saprophytes, they use they get food from dead animals and plants. So they get food from dead animals and plants. I'm just gonna write here. So saprotrophics, they get food from dead animals and plants. So basically here, saprotrophic bacteria are useful when it comes to what? Decomposition. Right. And then we also have other type of we have parasitic, saprotrophic, and we also have mutualistic. So mutualistic type of bacteria, whereby these ones, they form a relationship or an agreement with other living organisms, So here both organisms benefit from the relationship. So this one forms a business partner somehow, whereby they all benefit, they get 50-50 profit from what they actually did. So yeah, that's basically it about nutrition of bacteria. So first things first, let's revise. We have autotrophic bacteria. So these are bacteria that can make their own food, and then they use the process called photosynthesis. Hence we say they are photosynthetic. And then another process, it's the chemical process, whereby we refer them as chemosynthetic, right? And then we also have another type whereby these ones, they can't make their own food. So I'm gonna write it here. These ones cannot make their own food. They can't make their own food. Hence, they have to go and hunt their food. Like parasitic, this one they hunt, but they harm. This one they harm other organisms. Those are parasitic. So we also have saprotrophic, whereby these ones feed on dead animals and plants, which actually work when it comes to the decomposition processes. And then we also have the mutualistic type of bacteria, whereby these ones they form a relationship with other organisms, whereby both organisms benefit from the relationship. So now let's look at reproduction of bacteria. So bacteria require specific conditions for them to reproduce or for them to multiply. Basically, we're talking about favorable conditions of bacteria. So bacteria require a moist area. So they require moist area for them to multiply, right? So obviously the unfavorable condition for it will be extreme heat or dry areas. This will be unfavorable conditions for bacteria, right? And then also here there is lack of food. This is one of the unfavorable conditions for bacteria. Obviously here there will be sufficient food, right? So now here let's talk about the favorable conditions. So the favorable conditions enables the bacteria to what? To multiply. So under these conditions, bacteria, they multiply or reproduce rapidly. So they will multiply rapidly, right, under these conditions, right? And then this replication or multiplication of bacteria is referred as binary fission, right? So the reproduction of a bacteria, the process whereby bacteria multiply rapidly, is called binary fission, right? Actually, it's not fusion, it's fission, because fusion, it's fission, it's binary fission. So basically, what's happening on binary fission? So it starts as, let's say for instance, we have a bacilli here, a bacillibacteria, right? And then it has obviously a nucleoid inside, right? So this bacilli, for it to reproduce, it will require these conditions, right? Let's say the conditions are favorable. So the bacilli, what will happen to the bacilli? The bacilli will split in half. So basically here, what happened here for it to turn out this way? The nucleoid replicated. So here, in this stage, DNA replication occurs. So here, DNA replication. There's DNA replication here. And then what happens now? So now, the bacteria, each side of the bacilli now grows. It extends, it goes into full growth, right? It extends into full growth. Then draw the nucleoid here, draw the nucleoid here. So now, here, cytokinesis occurs. Cytokinesis occurs. What is cytokinesis? So the formation of two identical cells. So here, this process is called cytokinesis, which is referring to the formation of two identical cells, right? So, and then after that, each bacteria then goes separate ways. So this is the process of binary fission, right? In simple form, this refers to what? Cell division, right? So that's how bacteria reproduce. They reproduce by binary fission. So now let's go to the unfavorable conditions. The unfavorable conditions, the bacteria now experience extreme heat in dry areas. It's in dry areas, there's lack of food, right? So what happens? So now the bacteria then turns into what? The bacteria turns into an endospore. An endo? No, what am I writing here? Endo, it's endospore. It's endospore. So basically, an endospore is like a shrinked bacteria. Remember, it was this side, so it was this size, so it will shrink into a very small piece. It will be from this binary to, I will show it in red, into a shrinked bacteria like this. But the nucleus will still be there and everything will be there, but it will be shrink, right? So that's an endospore. An endospore enables the bacterium to survive under unfavorable conditions. So that's it. And then after here, we'll be looking at the activity based on bacteria and viruses. So now let's look at this question. So let's look at question 1.1. So now we have to cycle the correct answer here. It's multiple choice. So this question says a bacterium cell, right? You have to finish up, ... A bacterium cell, option A says that has a nuclear membrane around its genetic materials. Since we know that bacteria are prokaryotic, this implies that the first option is wrong, because prokaryotic means no nuclear membrane. So this implies that this one, it's false. Bacterium cell is a prokaryotic, so this one is actually correct. So the correct answer here is what? B. B is the correct answer. Hence we know that eukaryotes are the ones that have what? That have nuclear membrane around genetic materials. Right. Okay, let's look at the second question. So in this question, we are supposed to indicate whether each of the following column in column 1 applies to A only, B only, B only, or both A and B, or none in either of the items in column 2, right? Write A only, B only, both A and B, or none next to the question number. Okay, sure. Let's look at 2.1. 2.1, the comma-shaped bacteria. So let's talk about the shapes of the bacteria. We have the circle one, we have a rod-like shape like, we have a comma shape like, we have a spiral shape like, right? So the circle one is called corky shaped. This one is called bacilli shaped like. This one is called vibrio shaped like. This one is called spiral shaped like. So we have to answer 2.1 now from this. A comma shaped bacteria, we know it's vibrio, so it's here, it will be none. The answer for here for 2.1 is none, right? And then let's go to the second question. The second question says that contain either DNA or RNA. What is that? It contains either DNA or RNA. Is it a bacteriophage? Remember, a bacteriophage, it's a bacteria, it's a virus that eats bacteria. This one eats bacteria. Right. And then virus. Virus, we talk about bacteriophages, coronavirus, HIV, and etc. Right? So we talk about a group or a class. So basically here in a class, we're talking about all of this, right? So now let's come back to bacteriophages. Bacteriophages contains what? They contain DNA, right? And then obviously when we talk about viruses, we talk about bacteria, bacteriophages, right? We talk about HIV virus, right? So a bacteriophage will contain a DNA, and HIV will contain an RNA, right? So basically, if we're talking about that contains viruses that contains either DNA or RNA, they are not being specific, right? So we're talking about viruses here. We're talking about the class. We're not talking about one virus, because one virus contains one of them, not DNA or RNA, right? So the answer for here it will be, so for 2.2 the answer will be B only, right? So now let's look at 2.2. 2.2 talks about the protective layer outside the cell wall, right? Remember in a bacteria we have a plasma membrane, right? We have a plasma membrane here, and then we have a cell wall, and then we have what you call a capsule. So it will be a capsule. So in viruses it is a capsid, but in bacteria it's a slime capsule. So it's A only. So for 2.2, for 2.3, the answer will be A only. Right. So now they say explain why bacteria are regarded as autotrophic, heterotrophic, prokaryotic. Okay. They are autotrophic. Autotrophic bacteria, we're talking about bacteria that can generate their own food. This one can generate their own food. And then autotrophic are bacteria that can't generate their own food. Right. And then prokaryotic, they don't have a nucleus, right? They have no nuclear, they have nuclear contents, but they don't have a nuclear, they have no nuclear membrane. Right. But they have nuclear content. Right. So let's look at 3.3. 3.3 is the same question. We have to answer A only, B only, both A and B, or none. Right. Let's look at 3.2.1. Column 1, it says that the presence of a protein capsule, right, and a well-defined nucleus. So it has the presence, you have to say it's either viruses or bacteria, right? So now, as long as they're talking about capsules, just know that they're talking about what? Bacteria. So here, in viruses, it's a capsid, and then in bacteria, it's capsule. So this will be B only. What do they mean by well-defined? Well-defined, okay, I think I made a mistake here. If they're saying well-defined, it means it has a nuclear membrane. Meaning this thing is a what? It's a eukaryotic. It's a eukaryote. Means it's none. It's none. It's none. So basically, the answer here for 3.2.1 will be none. So if you didn't understand this part of this video, whereby I'm saying it's none because it has a well-defined nucleus, I want you to understand the structure of viruses and the structure of bacteria. So bacteria are prokaryotic, so they don't have a well-defined nucleus. So I want you to go back to part 1 of this video on the playlist and watch part 1 and try to understand the structure of a virus. And also I want you to go to another video that tells you about how the structure of a bacteria actually looks like. So you will notice that both of them, they don't have a well-defined nucleus, or they are prokaryotic. They have no nuclear membrane. Right. And then let's look at another one. 0.2.2, it has a not well-defined nuclear presence. So both of these two, they are considered prokaryotic, right? So here, this one and this one, both of them. So for 3.2.2, both A and B don't have a none or a well-defined nucleus. And then may cause diseases. Some bacteria can cause diseases, and also some viruses cause diseases. So also here, it's both of them. Now this is 2, and then 3.2.3, both A and B. Can occur as autotrophs, saprotrophs, and parasites, which is true. This one's we're talking about viruses, right? They can generate their own food. They can act as decomposers, and then they also can harm other living organisms. So here for 3.2.4, it's A only. And then now let's look at this one. They are considered non-living, so those are viruses. So the answer for here for 0.2.5 will be B only. So basically that's how you answer the questions. That's how you answer this kind of questions, so that you don't lose marks unnecessarily. So remember, I want you to guys practice for your exams. Make sure you master this concept before it is too late. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.